Good afternoon, Kamilindo. How are you today?
Hi. Oh, very well, very well. I'm looking forward to having a little bit of a chat and whatnot.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, so I'm so excited to have you here. And would you like to share a bit about who you are and what you're doing and what your passion is?
Okay, sure. So I will just try to put it briefly because there's a lot to talk about, and I don't really like to talk too much about myself. But essentially, I am very much interested in mental health, mental well-being, and healing in general. Therefore, I pursued a career in clinical psychology, but in parallel, I've been also developing and cultivating my deep interest in instruments and music from different sort of cultures, different ancient wisdom traditions, and over the years, and I'm now sort of bringing those two worlds together, combining my passion for helping people move through some difficult, challenging emotions, and also expressing myself artistically, musically. So that's sort of led to developing that thing that I call Ethno-Sound journey, for lack of a better word, but just to convey that it's something of a journey kind of experience, and that there is a element of different sort of ancient wisdom traditions and instruments derived from those different cultures and sacred
Amazing.
chants. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so nice. So now we will invite everyone for 15 minutes to listen to you. So I guess like everyone can just like make themselves comfortable, right?
Yeah,
Lying down
absolutely.
or sitting.
Yeah.
Maybe we suggest not listening maybe through the headphones, just in case if the sound goes, maybe just put it on normal
Yeah,
loudspeaker and
that would be a good idea as
yeah,
well.
get yourself a blanket or something wherever you are in this world if it's cold.
Yeah, grab
uh,
yourself a pillow, maybe something nice to drink, and find a comfortable position. Breathing in, I'm home. Breathing out, I'm safe. Resting in the open, spacious awareness. Nowhere to go, nothing to do, just being present. Breathing in, allowing whatever rises, giving yourself permission to be fully present. Now imagine for a second you're in a beautiful place in nature. and you sit by a beautiful old ancient tree. And as you look down, you see a beautiful deep roots spreading into the core of the earth. Vast network of roots, holding your ground, holding your being.
Thank
Time to
you.
moisturize some throat.
Yes, I need to come back in the space.
It's difficult to talk after.
It's really nice.
Some people.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, I hope everyone that listened to it enjoyed it, and I can highly recommend doing it live as well, because I think sharing a space with other people and then also having the different frequencies around you is also really special.
Yeah.
So it was really nice for you to share a bit of experience. I still feel it though, like even if it's now over the medium of the laptop and Zoom, but like I just still, it still goes. Yeah, and yeah, so this was like
I've never done it. I've never done it through like transmitting through online. I sort of am always reluctant. I still am, because I truly believe that 50% of experience is gone, because what we are working with are vibrations and atmosphere that is conveyed by all these different instruments, and it's only when it's interaction with a real air and spreading through the air and feeling that fluctuation and that frequency. I think then that's when it's really hitting some deeper place within us. And as you say, the collective space is also key. for all of that, because I deeply believe that, you know, we need to heal through relationships and through experiences that are meaningful, and that through neuroplastic change, you know, continuous, repetitive, meaningful, positive experiences create new networks that take over those, you know, negative sort of wirings, the wirings associated with challenging emotions, challenging abusive perhaps experiences, or any form of you know, neurosis, anxiety, and depression. So rewiring the brain with meaningful, positive experiences, where we can feel safe, and that's my intention, sort of, to provide those spaces of safety, and co-creating it with other people, because we are all in it together. There is no exemption when it comes to suffering and pain and mental distress. So those spaces are conducive to being held in a safe container and being witnessed in your vulnerability. But sound needs, for my opinion, ideally is conveyed through, you know, direct perception. So then there's this intimate relationship that is developed also with the sound, but also with one another, including myself. So we're creating this kind of a vortex. So that's sort of a traditional ways of different ancient wisdom traditions. Those safe containers where healing occurs. And so, you know, healing is not necessarily about fixing anything. It's maybe more about expanding, so you can welcome all of that there is, all the pain, all the bliss, and sort of allowing yourself to harmonize different parts of yourself, not rejecting, you know, our past traumas, but seeing the scars as beauty, and honoring the strength that oftentimes comes from it, you know, and the growth that took place because of those experiences. So I think that this expansiveness that we are allowing ourselves also to experience through the sound is an important part of that.
So how does I think you said some really beautiful things already through the healing, but how does the sound work on your body, if you know, to kind of maybe understand this a bit, why this is possibly different to listening to an Iron Maiden song, let's say, or what does it do to your body, mind, and spirit? I mean, I can truly feel it, and I feel like the vibration of the sound, even through this medium, goes to the spaces where I also feel maybe a bit tense, and it has this tingling, like on my nose and on my teeth. And but yeah, maybe you can share a bit of like the you know, the kind of mind conscious understanding of it.
Okay, yeah. Well, there's many ways to look at it, and I don't really have the answers. I don't think anyone has got the answers. You know, I just the other day had the conversation with a lady when I was doing this sort of one of my ethno sound immersions in Mongolian Yurt. It's a regular conversation, and we're having this conversation, and suddenly I wanted to talk about science, and then we both agreed that, you know, sometimes science is not the only paradigm according to which we can assess the reality of things. And for me personally, it's about the experience. So the sound and vibration at the physical level is one thing that to explain the interaction between our, you know, body, which is nothing more, nothing less but fluctuations of vibrations and frequencies, but so slow that they create the impression of being solid. So quantum physics is clearly telling us about that. So very low vibration, so it seems like it's very solid. It seems like it. It's an illusion, a perceptual illusion. So then, you know, we can think about interaction between our body, our mind, and prana, our life force, as you know, this opportunity to retune our instrument, our body, you know, and refine, retune it. And that's one of the ways of thinking about it. Sound as a vehicle to sort of a catalyst of this refinement of our vibrational body. so to speak. So that's the physics and quantum physics way of thinking. The other one is sort of a more psychological kind of a minded / psycho-spiritually minded, whereupon the experience itself is meaningful and healing. The mental landscape, emotional landscape that we are tapping into through those beautiful sounds of those instruments that are very primal, and we all can relate to it in different ways. But from what I'm hearing from people over the years that attended my sessions, I've got those primal experiences of release, cathartic experiences. So then there is this experience that is a conduit towards improvement of whatever there is, or simply just reconnecting, reharmonizing different parts of ourselves that are there, that needs attention, witnessing, and care. So that's the other way of thinking about it. So an experience per se that the music conveys, because music is like a non-verbal language, really. That conveys images, memories. It triggers our deep emotions. It can take us to childhood. Even people with very highly developed neurodegenerative disorders, Alzheimer. There's the work of Oliver Sacks that's been documented in this amazing film, which I highly recommend, Alive Inside. Those individuals completely lost their personalities due to this neurodegenerative progressive disorder, and when they were played on their headphones, on their MP3s, that were given to them by the clinicians who were doing some research. Suddenly, those individuals that were played songs they used to listen as young people became animated, alive, and suddenly their personality came back. Not only the affect came back, but also personality, whereupon they suddenly were able to engage after they took their headphones in a meaningful conversation, which was about right here, right now, and also even their past. Why did you like this song? What happened? This was all there. Sudden access to memories, because what makes us are our memories and the feeling tone associated with the memories. If we don't have access to it because of a certain lack of connectivity between certain parts of the brain, then we are losing that. So the music had that power. So that's really, really, really amazing. The same with the repetitive rhythms that are used in those different traditional contexts of healing, whether it's Tibet, India, South America, Africa, indigenous Australia. All of those cultures developed this ways of entering the trance, altered states of consciousness with repetitive rhythms. And they're finding out now in research in Stanford, there's this Center for Sound Therapy, Integrative Center for Sound Therapy, where it's helpful for Parkinson as well, because they oftentimes has got problem coordinating that internal rhythm with an external rhythm of needing to do the intention, the will. So then the repetitive rhythms help them to stand and make this first step, and then they can keep going. It's like a Kickstarter kind of a thing, like you start the engine in your car, that pulse, so they benefiting from the drone-like music, repetitive rhythms as well, and drone-like music. So that's where the power of music is. But coming back to your original question, the way I think about it is because as far as the interaction of sound and physical body is concerned, there's a lot of research that one can look upon, and it's beautiful, even seeing how the vibrations of different frequencies create those beautiful patterns in water or sand. So there's no doubt there's an interaction as far as molecules are concerned, but then that's bodily interaction. But then consciousness-wise, I think is the experience, but also the felt sense and that container in which one can find oneself. So that's kind of those two basic ways that I kind of conceptualize it at the moment. But yeah, that's sort of I hope it answers your question.
Yeah. No, I was also thinking, like, so obviously different instruments, they make kind of like obviously different sounds, right? So I guess, like, for example, a high tone makes you possibly more alert, while maybe you, what do you want to explain it?
I don't know. I don't have the
You don't
theory, so
know.
I'm not even
Yeah,
interested in it, to be quite
yeah,
honest.
yeah.
Like I
And I found it
don't
just
don't
interesting
really.
because I think some tones bring you deeper
Yeah.
and
No,
others bring
I can
you
imagine.
more
Yeah, awake and light and sort of luminous, and the young darker and grounded. Yeah, I think there is this element to it, this more sublime, angelic kind of uplifting sounds, and more grounding, sort of earthy vibration. So certainly, I can relate to that. But I'm sort of using it intuitively. What I want to help people experience is a vast range of emotions, and not necessarily a comfortable angelic experience, but anything and uncomfortable, and the gongs and sort of a little bit of a chaos sometimes, even just to throw them out and then bring them back into the soothing kind of a quality of maybe bansuri flute, or some chanting, and then coming back into the darker kind of a place with the gongs and bells and whatnot. So that's sort of a movement, so to bring a little bit of a fluidity into our system, flexibility,
mm-hmm.
because a lot of mental health problems are associated with rigidity and with too much, either too much chaos or too much rigidity. So those two spectrums. So we want to find the middle way. And through training the brain, moving back and forth between those during the experience, we may think as it as sort of a simulation experience, but the brain's the response create pathways. Moving between those things helps us establish more flexibility, so there is more fluidity in our mental processing, and that's sort of where I'm coming from. So I don't really know much about the frequencies and their direct impact on emotional states, and I'm not even sure what's out there. I'm sure somebody already looked at it, and that would be cool to find out. It's a pretty good question, but yeah, intuitively we would all agree that there are certain high pitch frequencies, as you're suggesting, evoking those more blissful, angelic, luminous states, and versus those drony, kind of a darker, heavier, repetitive sort of sounds as well. So yeah, there's definitely use in a Tibetan context. I lived in a Tibetan monastery, and all the ceremonies, pujas, they use, those drony instruments, including the drum that I have got, a Tibetan drum, and so really intense. And the chants are really low pitch and almost like throat singing, and that takes you to this kind of wrathful place, sort of a scary place, almost hellish place, but for a reason, to be able to cultivate your mind to be present, and develop some form of equanimity towards whatever arises. Because if we are going to be moving back and forth like the leaves in the wind, then we don't have stability. So we want to be able to move between and oscillate, but so those kind of a chants can be also used like that.
So you go pretty intuitively with the instruments and also with your words as well.
Yeah, more or less intuitively, I would say. And every session is kind of a different. I have developed now a little bit of a structure, sort of what works. So I have got some basic structures that what I want to convey, but things go awkward sometimes, or things get you get in the flow and things happen unexpectedly. So I always allow for that. For me, primary focus is, coming to myself and my intention, and also allowing everyone else to return to their intention and set their own intention in the beginning. So yeah, there's like opening. It's like a ritual in a way. So the ritual is a powerful means for us to cultivate some new habits and new behaviors through the metaphor, through symbols. So I feel about it as sort of also ritual, uh, in a sense that it helps us to um, sort of uh, uh, make something real within us through external circumstances. And I think the ritual is very important in general. it's something meaningful. Oftentimes I would be thinking in early days, I don't want to, follow any protocols. I don't want any rituals. But now I'm understanding it more. It's a lot of depth to it. It's one of the ways to train the mind through ritual, through certain a relationship between internal world and external world. So I'm trying to ritualize it a little bit, but not in some kind of a negative sense. It's still keeping it contemporary and 21st century, but sort of influences that I had led me towards this recognition as well.
So do you feel like you kind of tune also into the people that you're with in the room? That you can feel a bit maybe also what everyone needs, and you go through there from there?
Yeah, definitely when I do one-on-one sort of explorations and self-inquiry with sound, and there's a lot of opportunities there to really fine-tune, but also in collective spaces as well, although there's much less capacity to attend to everyone, but collectively, for sure, I think there is this, unspoken atmosphere that is co-created by each and every one of us in the room. And that is sort of a invisible the driving force, invisible thread that is connecting all of us, this kind of a network. So the mycelium. So yeah, it's something probably very 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 invisible but palpable, and it's necessary. Oftentimes, people will have similar experiences as well in the room when they report back. So yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Like a non-verbal kind of feeling. And because you said you studied psychology, so you just came through this study also to the sound, and you're gonna implement this in your practice. Is that kind of your plan, or?
Yeah, so I think there are many ways to cut the bread, and there are many ways to make a drum, and there are many ways to play the music, and there are many ways to help a person discover and make meaning and transform their pain or their suffering. One of those means is classical, conventional, Western approach to this psychological cognitive behavioral therapy, which is the dominating force, or now more common acceptance commitment therapy, which is more derived from mindfulness type of approaches, so cultivating the sense of open, non-judgmental space. And then there is self-compassionate inquiry, compassion focused approaches, and so on and so forth. But they're all talk therapies mainly, so they have got their limits as well, because oftentimes you actually want to bypass the cognition and enter the space of deeper unconscious residing experiences that had been kept in the cave for a good reason, to protect us from reliving those painful memories. So, but they're still there, and it's like a pus, accumulating under the skin, and every now and then you're gonna itch, and it's gonna come back, and it's gonna be painful. So, what you need a deeper surgery to be able to go underneath and then take it all out and clean it up, and it can be quite painful, and not everyone might be ready for that. So, there are different approaches to do that. And one of them is somatic experiencing, developed by Peter Levine and others. There's psychodrama, there is medicine plants, and all of that indigenous influence from South America, and another mean is also sound and music and creativity in general. Because creativity is is that force within ourselves that, as Dick Schwartz, one of my sort of favorite psychologists these days, psychiatrists, researchers who develop internal family systems, he refers to this idea of self. That is this quality within ourselves that is beyond all the different parts, the managers, the anxious part, the angry part, the firefighters that are bursting out with emotions whenever they are feeling shame, and so forth. So then there's this part of us that is made out of those letters C, 8 letters C, and one of them is creativity, among the connection, confidence, courage, calmness, and so forth. And creativity is one of those forces that can help us also access and move through some of those aspects. That's why I oftentimes do those journeys with an integration stage where we not only share and being heard and validated and as part of this common human experience, but also we actually create soundscape together, collective soundscape together. So I've been doing those sessions, and I think this is the way to go, where we can creatively also express whatever came up as a way of integrating the experience. So in answer to your question, I hope I didn't go too much around, but yes, I would like to hope that I can somehow bridge those two worlds, because that's what feels natural to me as my way of evolving and expressing myself. But I recognize that there is a space and time and place for all of those modalities. It's not to diminish one or the other. And, we all need to have our stories heard and witnessed, understood, make meaning, but then we also want to let go of it, make space for new things. So how do we do that? So that's when all these other classical approaches might be useful. And that's why I'm seeing value in it.
Yeah, I definitely think a lot of people also, it's just rather than maybe explaining your story over and over again for years and reliving them, it's good to have some like art therapy or creative outlets. But I think even though, picking people up where they at, and for some people, sound is like, as you said, like with Alzheimer's, I think like all these senses, because they're also visual things, if people see things from their decade where they've been born or lived, and yeah, I think it's the senses, and yeah, just I think purely feeling, and sometimes not even knowing what you feel, but just to accept that it's there, and then let it go. And I think like with sound, it's also beautiful because you're not in your mind, it's purely feeling, and you feel the vibration. And as you said before, I think it's really profound in all these cultures, in these indigenous cultures as well, where we possibly come from, that they're like sounds, and I definitely think intuitively we all resonate to some of these sounds, because they also connected with nature sounds to a degree, and like the wind or nature, water, or
and we are suffering from nature deficiency disorder as well, so it's all contributing. So I'm glad you mentioned, because that is missing a lot, and that's what the role of music is as well. And those tribal kind of moments of connecting with the rhythm, like recently I did some sessions and friends and people, like a drumming journey kind of a thing, and my flatmate came over and he was absolutely delighted, and he said, I've never felt so alive and so primal and instinct coming from a place of instinct. I also need to sort of connect my computer to the charge. Just give me a second, because it might die anytime soon.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm back and we are safe.
Amazing.
I
Yeah.
was just monitoring the battery and it was very low, so just on
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I mean, is there something I think it's we possibly both can agree that it's kind of a non-verbal feeling that we try to put in words now, kind of,
Yeah,
to explain a bit what people can expect,
yeah,
or
yeah,
just trying to really talk a bit about it, but it's possibly
yeah,
really more a body kind of feeling.
yeah. It really is
And
embodied,
yeah,
embodied. And I also encourage, it's not always possible depending on the space and venue, but I encourage people if they feel like moving, move through this,
yes,
and
yeah,
give a form to whatever comes up for you.
mm,
Develop relationship with that part maybe that is coming up, your inner critic,
yeah,
or your wounded inner child. Like let them dance, let them scream, let them move, and be present to that at the same time,
mm,
and infusing it with sort of a sense of non-judgment, curiosity
mm,
first and foremost, but most importantly self-compassion. So that's sort of a primary
mm.
driving force. I always try to sort of cultivate in those sessions this idea of self-compassion.
Yeah, I
um
agree. I was just thinking that because last night we had this sounds in the yurt in Northcote, and I was just thinking there was this how we or maybe I should talk to for myself, but I guess a lot of people feel the same, like how programmed we are, through society and family. Because um, there was this lady who was just going to lie on the floor, and I thought the whole time I felt like lying on the floor, but I mean there's obviously also a restricted space, and then she was lying on the floor and then I could
yeah,
also lie down. But it's
that's right.
like I think it's really this what you just said, this kind of space that you're creating, um you know where there's like no judgment, and where there's this space where you
Mhm.
can be like, oh, okay, hey, I can feel into this, and I don't need to feel judged, and it's okay. No one is going to tell me, no, you can't lie down, because this is
Mhm.
not what we do here.
That's
But I
right.
think we're so massively programmed, because it's like when you go to school, it's like you need to sit on the chair, like you can't just lie
Correct.
down if you feel like
That's
you
right.
just can't
Yeah,
listen anymore, and you just want to lie down because you might listen better, so you
that's
can
right.
listen it. And so I think it's I think a lot of these things we share, like even through dancing or ecstatic dancing or earth dancing that you do with Carla,
Mhm. Yeah.
it's so good to be surrounded by people, but also in this space where you can move and really listen to your needs, and
Yes.
really explore that, because I think in that also lies that you're gonna
Mhm.
let go of
Yeah.
whatever is in you, and what you definitely need to let go of that just keeps you stuck in whatever it is. Like, I mean, it's hard to say sometimes, but
It's
and
very
I
true.
really love that more and more people really create these spaces, for
Yeah, it's very important.
people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're fortunate that those things are opening up, and that collective approach to well-being. It's very very meaningful. Group therapy, has been
Mm,
recognized for a long time, and it's very
yes.
powerful. That sense of cohesion, sense of belonging, sense of common humanity, and also safety. So creating those kind of spaces are very very important, and respecting one another in that way is also very very crucial. And from my experience so far, it's very much needed and very very powerful,
Yes.
simply for that very reason. And also just being, as you said, able to meet yourself where you're at.
Mm,
If that means screaming, nobody's gonna be putting hands on you, nobody's gonna putting you down. If it means rolling on the grass and letting go and being a little bit frivolous, that's also fine, whatever it is. And you can also ask someone for a hug, and you can receive a hug from a person too, so important.
mm,
Or giving yourself touch, so important. And so coming back to the body and coming back to the space of heart is something we can all cultivate, and that those experiences, as they are building up, they're helping us to bring more and more of that into our lives. So it's like a training ground, which we then bring into other situations as well.
Yeah. Yeah, so good.
It doesn't mean that we're gonna be rolling and jumping, you know, and
No,
doing whatever
yeah.
in all social contexts, but we can have that flexibility to be able to express ourselves, and we can fine tune what is needed in the situation.
But you can take also something from it, and you might just go home and scream in a pillow or in the car because you know that you can release some emotions. Or I feel even like maybe to get a feeling of what kind of sounds resonate with you, you know, like I found there's really like even with music, you know, I think we so get bombarded by music, but it's really, I think music has its place in a way, because there are tones that stimulate you. Then of course there's music with only instruments like classical or jazz, and then there's like with singing and lyrics, which might make you emotional. And I think they've also so different places, and I think it's sometimes we just listen to this on the side, but it's also I feel like to me personally, it really does things to me depending on what I'm listening to, you know, whether I found it. That's what I possibly meant previously with the different instruments, because I found really some music really hypes me up and it makes me really like hyped, you know.
That's
and
right.
And really unsettled. And then there's other music that really helps me to you know, be in a comfortable, beautiful zone with myself when I paint or do things. And
no doubt.
and
it's important to know what are those landscapes, musical landscapes, and how they are affecting us, and how we can bring more of what we need at that moment in time to our lives, and invite more and more of those frequencies to where we are, and to help us you know, experience what we need at that time.
But I feel even like in your sessions, for example, even becoming aware of how you feel, like even becoming aware of that you judging yourself, you know, is so valuable, because you can go away from there and you brought something to your consciousness of, wow, how judgmental am I with myself, you know. And obviously if you're really judgmental with yourself, you're really judgmental with others, because
of course.
and so I think it's so amazing to see this from a small thing on, like, you know, oh, you know, like someone lies on the floor, can I do this? I judge myself now in whether I can do this or not. And then by the time I do it, I just let go of it, and then I go away from the session and I'm aware of my judgments. And then it also takes bigger circles in my surroundings. So I'm like, well, hang on, you know, why am I so hard on myself, for example? This is just one example, but I think it's nice to share.
You're not alone, for sure. It's very common. No doubt. And we always being bombarded by all this stuff, and it's just a mental chaos, you know, the little me banging me phenomenon, the me continuum, you know, and you know, and all this the fear of not fitting in or being rejected, because it's deeply ingrained in our biology, evolutionary biology, you know. And it tells us back in those days we really needed to be liked by our tribe members and needed to please them, because if we were left alone in the cave, and we'd be eaten by the saber-tooth tiger. And now we want to be liked by 7 billion of people, you know, so because we're coming from the same wiring. So giving ourselves the opportunity to settle to what is, and listen to our needs and express it in a sensitive, respectful way, I think is a good starting point of coming back to the place within us, you know, that inner island, that place of refuge.
It's a never-ending journey anyway. Until we die, we are on a journey.
Yeah. And it's worthwhile living this type of journey, and
Yeah, absolutely.
it's definitely of benefit to us, and naturally translates to the beneficial activity in the world in general as well. If we
Yeah.
can bring the open heart and peaceful mind into whatever we do, and without all this inner critical voices and heavy energies that we're exposed to, don't even necessarily belong to us. Difficult upbringing, challenging environment where we grew up, where we can let go of that and just meet ourselves where we are, honoring those scars and honoring the process, but not being too hijacked by it at the same time. So having that capacity, I think, is key and fundamental to flourishing and mental well-being in general.
Yeah. Amazing. Is there anything I haven't asked you or we haven't spoken about? Is there something else you would like to share?
I think we covered quite a lot of ground, so maybe for now we can leave it here. It's a lot probably to digest, but I hope that it will be meaningful to other people, and I wish everyone courage and consistency and persistence in their own process, and untangling the knots of their existence and finding peace with themselves, and finding this beautiful blue planet Earth as a nice place to live, as a home. So moving beyond the self-hate and into self-love, and moving away from disconnection to connection, and moving away from meaninglessness to meaningful life. So that's my hope for everyone, and I look forward to see you live if you maybe wish to come to one of the sessions, and I will leave it on that.
Absolutely. Great. You answered my last question already, because I always ask everyone, is there something else from your heart you want to share with the world? And you just did.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, thank you so much. And I'll link your contacts in the show notes. So for people that live in Melbourne or Australia, can definitely come to your regular gatherings / sound journeys, Ethno-Sound journeys, and can contact you, and let's see what else is gonna happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
So thank you for that again. So those kind of regular sessions, if anyone is in Melbourne, are on High Street, 306 High Street in Northcote, every second and fourth Thursday of each month. So everyone is welcome. The best to kind of shoot me a message, because we have got limited capacity, but very much welcoming all of you. It's in a beautiful Mongolian Yurt, so very special. Also atmosphere, as you witnessed yourself. So thank you again, and for your willingness to talk about stuff and invitation, and for showing up to yourself and in your own invocation. So good luck with everything.
Thank you. No, thanks.